At the very heart of the American political landscape, a profound and turbulent upheaval has been ignited, precipitated by a declaration that appears destined to irrevocably consign to oblivion one of the most audacious and concurrently most debated infrastructure initiatives of contemporary America. Arriving with the unexpected force of a sudden storm, this decision carries with it the immense power to fundamentally reorient the allocation of federal financial resources and to definitively determine the ultimate destiny of a monumental undertaking upon which billions of dollars have already been committed, and upon which immense expectations were once fervently placed. At the nucleus of this swirling vortex of controversy resides the high-speed rail line planned for the state of California, a visionary aspiration that, through the passage of many years, has progressively degenerated into a project of profound and pervasive disappointment. It is precisely the future trajectory of this ambitious endeavor that has been cast into an abyss of uncertainty by the unyielding and absolute verdict emanating from the highest echelons of governmental authority. This narrative transcends the mere chronicling of a funding withdrawal. It is, in essence, a compelling chronicle of the dramatic confrontation between formidable political adversaries, of the betrayal of solemn assurances extended to millions of American citizens, and of the persistent and fundamental query that perpetually vexes every governing body. How does one accurately differentiate between genuinely visionary investments in the nation's future prosperity and a bottomless repository for the hard-earned money of taxpayers? The subsequent developments, unfolding with a bewildering and kaleidoscopic rapidity, have starkly illuminated the deep-seated divisions and the palpable strains present within the intricate relationship that exists between the federal government and one of the nation's most pivotal states, thereby transforming what is, at its core, a matter of technical execution into a battleground for an intense ideological conflict, the eventual resolution of which is certain to carry far-reaching and significant repercussions. With an unmistakable air of triumph and in his signature manner of direct and unvarnished communication with the populace, former President Donald Trump delivered a resonant and impactful announcement, which he unequivocally characterized as a momentous act of liberation for the American people, freeing them from the oppressive weight of a grievous and unsustainable financial obligation. In a communication disseminated through his platform Truth Social on the Wednesday of this past week, he unequivocally proclaimed the absolute and irreversible termination of all federal financial assistance for the ambitious Californian railway undertaking. To the law-abiding, tax-paying, and diligently working citizens of the United States of America, Trump declared with evident satisfaction, "I am immensely pleased to announce that I have officially liberated you from the financial responsibility of funding California's disastrously overpriced and utterly useless high-speed train to nowhere." This declaration marked the definitive culmination of his prolonged and persistent critique of the project. His message was imbued with a profound sense of accomplishment, reflecting what he perceived as the fulfillment of a solemn duty owed to his electoral base. In his official statement, he specifically singled out and conveyed his sincere gratitude to Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, underscoring the absolutely critical and indispensable role that Mr. Duffy played in the successful implementation of this decisive action. Thanks to the diligent efforts of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, Trump asserted with unwavering confidence, not a solitary cent of federal funding will ever again be directed towards the so-called new scum scam. This particular phrasing unequivocally conveyed that, in the estimation of Mr. Trump, the project is not merely an instance of governmental mismanagement or a simple failure, but rather a deliberately orchestrated scheme, directly implicating the current leadership of the state of California in its conception and continuation. Elaborating further upon his central thesis, Donald Trump presented his assembled audience with truly astonishing figures, unequivocally asserting that the deeply unfortunate and ultimately doomed endeavor had already exacted a toll upon the American taxpayers amounting to hundreds of billions of dollars. This truly colossal sum, he passionately argued, had been entirely squandered, a regrettable waste of precious resources, given that the nation had never received the anticipated, fully operational, and state-of-the-art rail system that had been so fervently promised. His potent rhetoric vividly painted a stark and unflattering picture of monumental mismanagement and the profound shattering of once-held hopes and aspirations. The railroad that we were so confidently promised still, to this very day, does not exist and indeed never will. He concluded with absolute and unwavering finality, thereby delivering what felt like a definitive and irrefutable verdict upon the entire, ill-fated initiative. These pronouncements were not merely a form of political criticism. Rather, they resounded with the somber finality of an epitaph inscribed upon the cold, hard tombstone of a grand and ambitious design that, in his deeply held conviction, had tragically transformed into a voracious phantom, insatiably devouring real and tangible money. Almost immediately following this high-profile political declaration, which had captured widespread public attention, came the official and undeniable confirmation from various governmental bodies, thereby lending the former president's potent words the undeniable weight of a formal and legally binding decision. The United States Department of Transportation, in its meticulously crafted official communiqué, fully and unequivocally corroborated the articulated position that had been so clearly expressed. In a widely distributed statement, the agency clearly and directly informed the public at large that it had officially terminated all further appropriations of approximately $4 billion in unspent federal funds, which had been previously designated for the ambitious implementation of the high-speed rail project slated for California. This decisive step effectively transformed a potent political declaration into an unalterable financial reality. A central and pivotal figure in this entire intricate process, as the official communications made abundantly clear, was the esteemed Secretary of Transportation, Sean P. Duffy, who subsequently provided a detailed and comprehensive justification for the momentous decision. He meticulously explained that this significant move had been thoroughly preceded by extensive, meticulous, and exceptionally comprehensive preparatory work. According to his detailed account, the Federal Railroad Administration, commonly known as the FRA, had conducted an exceedingly thorough and rigorous compliance review, ultimately arriving at a deeply disappointing and unfortunate conclusion. The comprehensive review definitively determined that the California High-Speed Rail Authority, or CHSRA, the specific entity that bore the primary responsibility for the project's successful execution, had systematically and persistently failed to fulfill its key and fundamental obligations, which were clearly and unequivocally stipulated within the precise terms of its federal grant agreements. United States Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy placed the full and unmitigated measure of responsibility for the entire lamentable situation squarely and unequivocally upon the shoulders of the state authorities, leaving absolutely no room whatsoever for any potential ambiguity or misunderstanding. "This is California's fault," he stated with an unyielding and remarkable confidence that brooked no argument. "Governor Newsom and the complicit Democrats have enabled this waste for years." His pronouncements sounded unmistakably like a direct and scathing accusation of profound political indulgence and a blatant disregard for financial responsibility. The Secretary specifically and emphatically emphasized that federal appropriations are by no means to be considered a carte blanche or an inexhaustible, unending source of funding. "Federal dollars are not a blank check," he continued, his voice firm and resolute. "They come with a promise to deliver results." In his considered view, it was this fundamental and crucial condition that had been so regrettably breached by the Californian side. After over a decade of failures, concluded United States Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy, his words echoing with finality, CHSRA's mismanagement and incompetence has proven it cannot build its train to nowhere on time or on budget. To truly comprehend the immense magnitude of the events that have unfolded and the profound degree of disillusionment voiced by those who have scrutinized this ambitious undertaking, it becomes imperative to journey back in time, to the very inception of this monumental endeavor. The genesis of this grand vision can be traced to the year 2008, a pivotal moment when the electorate of the state of California decisively gave their approval to a bond measure valued at $10 billion. These allocated financial resources were designated to function as the foundational capital, the initial investment required for the meticulous construction of a cutting-edge, state-of-the-art high-speed rail system. The initial conceptualization was nothing short of awe-inspiring. This proposed arterial network of steel was envisioned to seamlessly bridge the vast expanse separating the state's two most populous and economically vital metropolitan centers, namely San Francisco and Los Angeles. The ambitious timeline initially set forth projected the full realization of this project by the year 2020. At that formative juncture, the aggregate financial outlay was conservatively estimated to be $33 billion. It represented a daring aspiration, a tangible manifestation of a future wherein transit between the northern and southern extremities of the Golden State would be characterized by unparalleled speed, exceptional convenience, and a steadfast commitment to environmental sustainability. However, as the inexorable march of time progressed, the initially bright and optimistic outlook began to demonstrably dim. The project became mired in a labyrinth of innumerable delays, protracted legal disputes, contentious disagreements concerning the precise routing, and, most critically, an unmanageable and spiraling escalation of expenditures. The original financial projections, once considered reliable, were revealed to be hopelessly and irretrievably outdated. Consequently, as a direct result of years of persistent delays and the occurrence of colossal cost overruns that far surpassed any initial projections, the original, majestic, and far-reaching plan has undergone a drastic and significant curtailment of its scope. In the present day, the project's aspirations have been substantially scaled back to a level that can only be described as a faint and diminished echo of its former magnificence. Rather than a comprehensive trunk line designed to seamlessly connect the state's primary economic powerhouses, the current singular focus is now confined to the construction of a relatively modest segment, spanning a distance of 171 miles. This particular segment is intended to establish a vital link between the municipalities of Merced and Bakersfield, both situated within the fertile expanse of California's Central Valley. Even when considering this substantially reduced iteration of the original vision, the projected financial commitment has ballooned to truly prodigious proportions and, according to the most recent available evaluations, now stands at a staggering sum reaching up to $35 billion. This astonishing figure signifies that an amount exceeding the original projected cost of the entire, much grander undertaking is now earmarked for expenditure on a considerably more circumscribed section of railway track. Furthermore, the anticipated completion date for this significantly truncated segment has been regrettably postponed far into the foreseeable future, specifically to the year 2033. Against the somber backdrop of these evolving circumstances and the subsequent, profoundly impactful announcement emanating from the Trump administration, there has, to date, been no official pronouncement or public reaction from the governing leadership of the state of California. Governor Newsom has, thus far, refrained from issuing any formal response to the aforementioned announcement, and this conspicuous silence serves only to amplify the palpable sense of tension and the pervasive uncertainty that currently enshrouds the future of this long-suffering and beleaguered project.